Welcome, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I just arrived and someone told me, I wish you lots of shits on stage. I think that's a French saying of lots of luck. Is that so? Mierds on the stage. So yeah, let's see what happens. I brought something for you. I don't know how many times already you had a Menti code during the conference. I hope you can bear with me. I have another one. Why do you think strategic initiatives actually fail? What are the reasons that you observed? I hope it works. Anyone already entered some answers? Oh yeah, there it is. What do we have? Misalignment, yes. Strategy misunderstood or not understood. It's a lot of top-down. Misalignment gets bigger. Yeah, focus or lack of focus maybe. Control the organizations itself, right? Yeah, I see that top-down and misalignment, focus and fatigue getting bigger and bigger. So many of you already have observed similar things. Misalignment, and this is probably one of my core topics also today. Finding ways how we can create better alignment in our organizations. Before we start, I want to do an experiment. I hope you are willing to do that with me. I would like to invite you to stand up if you ever felt that the strategy of your organization is not clear enough, or of your product. Yeah? Look around, how many people you see? Okay, you are not alone, yeah? So, stand up or keep standing if you have seen an initiative fail because of misalignment. So I accept many people standing up here. It was just, I proved my Menti results just right now, so. Great, okay, look around. How many people? Stand up or keep standing if you've been slowed down or blocked by any other team or department. Yeah. That's bitter, isn't it? That's not fair. Why do we do that? That's really not good. Okay, so you are not alone, yeah? I feel you. We can fix it. We can fix it. At least I have an idea how we can fix it. I did it in a couple of companies. But this experiment I did was like 70% of strategies fail because of lack of alignment and lack of clear strategy. And I just wanted to prove that this statistic is true. If you don't believe yourself and your colleagues here, or if you don't believe my slide, here's a detailed study of McKinsey explaining that. Anyways, in reality, it looks like this. So I took this picture, 2015, yeah? Hamburg, Germany. We work in a game development company. And we are in a room with head of techies, yeah, back-end, front-end infrastructure, all these people. And we were already 4 years into our agile transformation. So we are already working with Scrum teams, cross-functional Scrum teams, Kanban. We had really good agile coaches, Scrum masters who supported these teams. They were all really great, working within the team. That was perfect. But you see on the table many cards. Yeah? And that was our trouble. We had a lot to do. Our backlogs were like, we couldn't manage it all anymore, right? And we were like, oh, how do we do that? And these cards you see are epics, not even user stories. So it was mess. It was messy. This became to my mission, kind of, to clear it out, to create a transparency of who's doing what, for what purposes, how are these teams connected with each other. And while doing that, I realized that the teams themselves, the Scrum teams, the cross-functional Scrum teams we created, they were functioning actually well enough as a team. But between the teams, we had trouble, right? There were lots of too much hands-off and all these things and dependencies. One team couldn't finish their job because of the other teams and so on. So we were in a kind of a waiting mode all the time. Nothing was getting done. And another thing, of course, I realized that is we take everything. Any request we get, we accept it. Because product owners, the product managers didn't have any reason to say no. Because it was like, why? Yeah, that's important too. Let's do that too. All right, these seemed all great ideas. So let's do it, all of them. But then we had this mess at the end. So while I was trying to figure out how can we fix this problem, I came across Objectives and Key Results, OKRs, 2016. So yeah, next year I'm going to celebrate my 10th year of OKRs and 15th year of agile transformations. And the problems we have are still the same. So I see that that frameworks are not fixing our problems actually, really. So yeah, OKRs, I started with it. And I moved to another company and I was responsible for the agile transformation there. And at some point also, I suggested, let's work with OKRs. So it became somehow my thing. You know, I started being the OKR person in my environment. And people started asking me to support them. You see some of those names there. And I started really enjoying this. So I decided to own my own business and start my own business and support all these companies on their way to implement OKRs or fix OKRs or fix their organizations, fix their team collaborations, whatever was needed. So I speak a lot of OKRs and objectives and key results, and maybe some of you hear it for the first time. Show your hands. All right, I will briefly explain what it is. So who heard of OKRs? Show me your hands. That's a huge number. Who works with OKRs? All right, so it's halving. Brief introduction to OKRs. We have a vision, we have a strategy, and then what we usually do is jump into our backlogs and to-dos, the work we do, the roadmap we create. But actually what we need is, in order to make the strategy or the vision that is rather abstract, to make it a little bit more tangible, we bridge the gap with OKRs by defining what are our strategic options for the next 3 to 4 months. Oh my God. What will we be doing in the next 3 to 4 months? And what would be our achievements and how would we measure that? This is basically what OKR is. We measure those things in order to validate our strategy. Are we on the right path? Are we doing the right things? In order to validate our hypothesis and then move forward. So OKR offers agile, adaptive strategy execution while we do it in a short iterations and learn and adapt on the go. That's basically the idea. I'll give you an example. So imagine next year FlowCon 2026 is already in the planning, yeah? And we want it to be sold out faster than Taylor Swift. Can we manage that? Yeah? So take a lot of pictures, put it on LinkedIn, and hashtag, I don't know, use the hashtag of FlowCon, and let's make it happen. So we can measure that if we can achieve it at the end of the conference, of course, right? When the tickets are sold out. But this is not the idea. We want to see the indicators if we are on the right way. And these are our key results. We measure like the social media engagement rates. Are the people actually interested in FlowCon, how it is right now? How many pre-registers do we have with the content we are communicating? Or we have early bird tickets, maybe is already sold out, 60%. Right? These are the things that we can measure if FlowCon is going to be a hit or not next year. These are the indicators. And the things that you see at the end of the slide are the initiatives, are the things that we would do in order to achieve these key results. Unfortunately, that gets mixed up a lot, right? So what we usually see is the type of key result, the initiatives as key results. And that's already a problem in the OKR sphere. So my message here is, when we talk about OKRs, we should be talking about outcome-oriented OKRs. We should put the behavioral change actually in the focus and become more customer-centric in order to understand what works well, what resonates well, what kind of things change actually the behavior, the way that we want it to be changed. These are the things that we focus on when we create our OKRs. Outcomes over output. We are not measuring the productivity we are having, how fast we are, how good we are, how many things we can do in how short of a time period, but rather what kind of an effect it creates, the things that we do. That's the main idea, actually, of working with OKRs with outcome-based. So another thing that I see when I get to organizations who ask me, can you fix our OKRs, please? What I see is this. My clicker is unfortunately not working well. Oh, spoiler. So this is the picture I get. Right? We cascade top down from organization level, from company level to departments, then to teams, and then even maybe to personal OKRs. That's what we do. And then we add, on top of it, we copy-paste the key result of the upper level and make it to our objective, right? And then like cascade it in a very strict way. And when I see something like this, I actually see this. You already got the picture, the spoiler. So imagine at the top something changes, and then you need to change everything also, what goes down or up. So you're actually only busy with administrating all these things instead of actually working, creating value. That's difficult. What also happens is this. Yeah? So the manager says, you do these OKRs. And the team is like, oh my God, we have other problems here. Something else is burning here. We shouldn't be taking care of this, but rather do your OKRs that you tell us to do. All right. Another thing is this. When I saw the sticker, oh, it broke my heart, really. Yeah. That's not the idea of doing OKRs. Don't tell the people, here's the roadmap, and these are your OKRs actually then. Do it. No. No wonder that people hate OKR if you do something like this. Another thing is what I see. Does that resonate? Yeah? So we have a lot of dependencies again, and we are busy with creating this transparency between the teams, creating transparency about the dependency, while we actually should be eliminating this dependency, right? And if we have distillation of these dependencies and then the teams have their OKRs, then this happens. Yeah. How is it going with your OKRs? Yeah, well, they're okay. Are you on track? Yes, well, yes, but no also. Because teams can't finish their OKRs till the other team delivers what the other teams need, right? All these dependencies. And these teams, of course, hate OKRs because they were like saying, as if we didn't have enough. And now we need to synchronize our OKRs too. This doesn't make sense. Yeah. With all these cascading and org chart copied OKR structures, the problem is that they slow us down. This is not what we want. They kill engagement because people feel like, okay, I will just do what I am told to do. And it blocks innovation because the organization is only as intelligent as the upper level tells us what to do, right? So anything that we can get from the lower levels, from the people, teams working actually closer to the customer problems, they are not participated in what OKRs they should be working on. And therefore, we don't get the ideas. And if we don't let them, we can't really use the potential that we have in our organizations to create that innovation. So there are lots of downsides of doing OKRs this way. And my OKR guru, Christina Wodtke, she wrote the book Radical Focus on OKRs. She posted that the times where we were all still in Twitter and, before we left Twitter, if you hate OKRs, someone is doing them wrong. Maybe you, maybe your boss. Does that resonate with you? Do you have the feeling that someone is doing it wrong? Right? And maybe we can solve it. Maybe we can be the people in our organizations who just give a new inspiration into the organization and do something else. And that's what I want to share with you, actually. When I ask the companies, why actually do you want to do OKRs? They tell me alignment. Alignment is the main thing they want to solve. We are misaligned. And I see something like this cascading models, and I say, okay, but this is not true alignment, actually. This is, you telling people what to do. This is not alignment. This is more maybe being in control of what happens next, right? Alignment should be about channeling efforts in the same direction. Alignment is more directional. But then again, we need to be careful about when we talk about alignment, we should be avoiding this. Right, so imagine we have good OKR teams. They all do great outcome-focused OKRs. They got it, but then everyone goes in the same different direction. That's also waste, right? Doesn't make sense that one team has the best OKRs written ever, but it's not contributing to the strategy overall. So I want you to think about a time that you felt truly aligned with others in your organization and what made it possible. Talk to your neighbor for a couple of minutes. I will show my hand when the time is over, so I hope you join me and show your hands so everyone sees it that the time is over. All right? Discuss with your neighbor, maybe someone you haven't talked to yet in this conference. You are also free to move around, right? Feel free. It's an invitation, of course, only. Nice, that works well. So give me some keywords from your conversation. What made it possible that you felt truly aligned? What was the magic? Can we a little bit louder, please? Autonomy. Yeah. Operation? Collaboration. Yes, thank you. Come again? Yeah, purpose, purposeful teams. Yeah. Please? Ah, nice. Yeah. Giving a little bit direction, but not telling exactly what to do, right? Yeah. So something like this. Yeah. So I heard something here. Transparency. I love that. Anything else? Yeah. Talking a lot. Conversation, keeping a conversation going, right? Yeah. Oh, nice. Being transparent about what's our priorities, right? Yeah. That made you truly aligned, really? Okay. Probably the disaster happened because you were not aligned before that. All right. Thank you very much. There's another one. Visibility. Yes. Transparency, visibility, knowing a little bit, but not exactly what to do. So this direction. So these are all good answers. I have two answers to that. One is the strategic focus. That made it possible to feel truly aligned to me and having a shared mission, having a shared goal with other people and following this goal, actually. Putting our egos aside, putting our opinions aside, and just working towards that goal. So strategy first, I'm saying, before we start with OKRs, with anything else, it doesn't matter which framework we are doing, we should be talking about our strategy first, right? Even the name of OKR framework is a strategy execution framework. So if you don't have a strategy in place, then we won't have good OKRs. Even though we have good OKRs, everyone will go in a different direction. So we should be starting with this. And these are examples of or books that I read and I work with when I do strategy work. And I want to share one quote from Richard Rummelt from Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. It goes in almost in the direction that from this corner someone said, strategy is directional and should create focus without saying what exactly to do. And this is difficult. This is nothing easy that we can do. It requires hard work, strategic thinking, training that strategic thinking muscle. That's nothing that can happen overnight. Richard Rummelt also says that there are three kernels of the strategy, he says. It's the diagnosis. What's actually the actual problem? What are we solving? Let's articulate this problem, this challenge. And then create a guiding policy that is directional and focused. And then translate it into current actions that are actionable and interrelated with each other. That's not just separate from each other. I'm not saying that's easy, just because you saw the slide that it's easy to do, but we need to start somewhere and then get better and better while we do that, right? So strategy is not a one event thing. It's not a workshop you do once a year and then say, that's our strategy, let's do that. We need to make it part of our everyday conversation. We need to be talking about our strategy initiatives, ideas, and how we do these, how we implement these from day to day, actually. On a daily basis, we talk about the things that we did. On a weekly basis, we can talk about what resonance it created, what effect it created, about our outcomes, leading outcomes. And on a monthly basis, we can talk about how this influences our strategic hypothesis. Are we validating it or not? And then on a quarterly basis, we can then say, okay, all these things we observed, what does it make with us? What does it tell us? what's the story behind it, and then adjust our way of doing our strategy. Right? Strategy is also just a hypothesis in that sense, and it needs to be validated if that's true. So if we get these things right, if we get the strategy right, if we can make it part of our daily conversation, I tend to say 10 minutes strategy a day keeps the trouble away. So just replace the apple with the strategy and that's it. If we can make that right, if we can get this straight, then we don't need to cascade. Then there is no need for cascading, because cascading is actually a compensation of lack of strategy. And if we get that strategy right, then we can create other types of organizations, other types of how we do our goals, how we work on our strategy. And that's the solar system, I name it. In the meanwhile, I mean, it didn't, of course, occur to me overnight, and I thought, oh, instead of cascading, we should be doing this. No, it happened while I was working with all these organizations and figuring out what's the better way actually to do the OKR structure. And this way I came up with this solar system idea. And the idea behind it is actually why I call it solar system is I see the strategy like the sun, on everything is aligned around it, right? It pulls everything towards it. And this won't work if we don't have the strategy, right? If we don't have a good strategy, it won't work. The planets are the teams that are aligned around this sun, and I have different type of teams. I will show it in a second. We have satellites. Maybe some teams are closer to the sun, closer to the strategy, closer to the customers. And some teams are actually maybe offering internal services to these teams who are closer to the customers. So they are enablers. Even though they don't have the end customer outcomes in their OKRs, they have internal customers. And all this interconnectedness enables us to work all in our own pace. I don't want to force any team to stick into a quarterly thinking. I worked with teams, they needed 6 months for their ideas to validate their hypothesis. Some teams needed only 2 months. So let's keep it flexible. As long as we are aligned, as long as we find a common cadence and we find a conversation, ongoing conversation, then it doesn't matter which team ends their OKR cycle and the other ends another time. I know it's unconventional, everything what I'm saying. I'm breaking a lot of anti-patterns here. But yeah, believe me, I did it and it works. I wrote about it. I will show you also how it works. I wrote about it in several publications, and this one in the middle is actually an OKR guide. Just one tiny bit of it talks about the OKR Solar System also. So, and this is a free download. You can have it at the end. I will show you in a QR code where you can download it. And I'm writing a book about OKRs also, so you will get the chance also to get the news about this too. So I will show you this one customer that I did it. Vestel is a Turkish customer. They are export champions. Anyone knows Vestel? Anyone see this brand before? In a vacation in Turkey, maybe? Yeah. And they approached me and said, okay, we are looking for different ways of how we can implement our strategy and become also innovative at the same time. You know, because for consumer electronics is, I think, one of the challenges to stay on the track, you know, to be innovative. And I said, of course, yes, but before we do OKRs, let's do strategy first. So we sat down together with the leadership team, with the executive team, and talked about the strategy. What are the strategic problems actually we want to solve? And one of those problems was the so-called authorized services. Not the people, right? I mean, it's obvious that I'm not talking about the people that are the problem, but the authorized services are representing Vestel on the field without being employed by Vestel, right? And these people, when I order something, And these people are the ones that get me this gadget to my home. And I think, as an end consumer, this is Vestel. This is a person for Vestel, from Vestel. And if these people misbehave or don't work well, this is a representation of Vestel, of course. So this is a huge problem and needs to be solved. And the way, how we want to solve it, we talked about it, and we said, okay, there are a couple of things that we should be doing in order to increase their sense of belonging to Vestel, even though they are not employed by us. We want to make them wear this Vestel t-shirt without us asking them. That was the mission that we had, we wanted to solve. So the topic itself was a very exploratory topic. We didn't know how to solve it. We didn't have a project deadline or something like this. And there were no dedicated teams, there were no ownership within the company who said, I can fix that problem, I know, that's my problem, I own it. There was no one. There were many teams interacting with these people, but not one ownership there. So we said, okay, if that's the case, what is a team? Following Peter Senge recommendation, what a team is. A team is the people, those who need one another to act. Any fans, Peter Senge fans, fifth discipline? Right? I love it. So we need those people together. We need these kind of teams. And this is most of the time not represented in our org charts. If you have it represented in your org chart, you are lucky, right? Then that's a good thing. But unfortunately, our org charts are different representations of how we are organized. So we followed this recommendation and said, okay, what is a team actually? Who do we need together? And we started creating teams by inviting them. This is the problem. These are the skills that we are looking for. Who is willing to work with us on this problem? So we created invitation-based teams. They had a shared mission, and they were cross-team and cross-level, right? So we didn't just leave the problem to the operational level. We said also from the middle management, from the upper management, it will be a mixed team. And I call them dynamic teams because we start today with some know-how that we think, how can we solve this problem? 3 months later, we are much smarter, and we realize, oh, we might need different people with different skills now in this team in order to work further in this problem. So we opened up and said, after the first OKR cycle, we will then communicate again and ask, we are here, these are the results we have. Who is willing to work with us in the next step now? So we offered this dynamic reteaming. In the first OKR cycle, what they did is the low-hanging fruits, of course, right? So they are starting new to OKR, something is new. They are starting for, some of them for the first time, work in a strategic topic at all. So everything was new for some of the members in the team. So of course they started with the low-hanging fruits, but what happened is they learned how to do customer interviews. They learned how to become data-driven, data-informed. Right? This was a really huge step towards the right direction already for these people. Even though they are maybe in the next cycle not part of the OKR teams, they already had learned so much that they can cross-pollinate other parts of the organization. Right? So there are many side effects of doing this. In the second OKR cycle, we started reteaming, and the magic happened there suddenly. We had a couple of team members who had a great idea, and this happened. Can you hear it? No. Can we hear it?
Servis kafası. Neyin kafası? Servis kafası. Yani evet arkadaşlar.
Any Turkish speaking people here? No. So what you heard here is a recording of a kickoff of the radio program that this OKR team created only for these people working on the field, driving in their cars, going to the customers, and they were able to listen to their own stories. So they made these people the focus. They put them in the middle and said, you are important to us, and that's why we want to hear to your stories. And everyone else doing the same job like you will be listening to you too. So that created an amazing, it was a magical moment, I would say, when they launched this radio program. And when they got the feedback from the people, they said, what? My colleague is talking there? Wow. So that was really magical, and that would have never happened if this team didn't come together as they came together. Bring another person to the team, something else would have happened, right? And this is what I was talking about, this innovation. If we let the people, if we allow them to bring their own ideas to solve a specific problem, they will do it. People are full of great ideas. You just need to enable that. So not only me was so inspired, also their C-level was inspired. So he was like, this is the best idea I ever had in this company, right? And he was already working for 20 years there, I don't know. So that was really magical. And of course, the team, this inspiration they got, the feedback they gave me, Cansel, that would have never been possible if you didn't get together like this. If it wasn't for OKR, I would put OKR we could have done it maybe also without OKR. That's not the point. The point is creating these dynamic teams, giving them a mission, giving them a way of measuring their initiatives, what things work well, what not, giving them this way of working. That was actually the most powerful thing. So when someone says, it was great to work on our own ideas, this is translated into business language, engagement. Everyone talks about employer engagement, motivation. There you go. You have a practical answer how you get there, how you create this engagement. They said also, we have a better understanding of how things work. What they mean is, I never had an idea how marketing team is working. Since now we work together for the last 3 months, I understand now. I understand their trouble. I understand it better now. So they created trust with each other, that they started establishing these trust moments. That was amazing. For me, it was really magical. I was really proud of what was happening there. And I repeated it every time when I had the opportunity in other organizations. Right? Ever since, I started working only with OKRs that way. Invite the people, explain what the problem is, and then let's work together. And OKR gives away just as a glue for this team to stick together. And then, of course, because it's outcome-oriented, it gives them a good way of focusing on only things that matter, on the things that are right. So what happened is, we started with early adopters, and we crossed the chasm in this organization. And the late majority came to me and said, Cansel, we want that too. We want to work with OKRs now too. And there I started discovering other planets of the solar system. So there was a product team, hardware product team. I would have never imagined. I mean, I learned product management in digital product management and game development. So hardware was not my thing. And I was like thinking, okay, oh my God, hardware, OKRs, iterative working, quick feedback, will that work? Yes, it did. They surprised me, they convinced me, this will work, Cansel, don't worry. We have our labs, we go to our customers, we fix the problem there and get information from them, and then we know how do we fix the problem in general for all the production later on. Right? So these were great results we saw there. Also the digital platforms, of course. We had some customer support teams working on live chat and all these things. And functional OKRs, I just showed you not to do this OKR cascading thing, but maybe In the strategy, it says we need to have a better employer experience, right? So maybe this is part of the strategy. Maybe there's a strategic problem there to solve. And HR can say, I can work on this problem autonomously. I have the expertise, I have the skills that I need in this team, and I will work on that. So functional team is also good to go. And the last one is shared OKR. That's quite interesting because there are some topics, again, strategic topics, like a product launch or a winter campaign or these kind of things, sales campaigns. What I used to do in these, I work in the game industry, I know that we have to finish this game till this fair happens, till Gamescom happens. So it was really messy. And what we were doing is marketing, sales, and product team were all having their own goals. And then we were like trying forcibly put them together and that synchronize it and so on. That was pain. That was really painful. In shared OKRs, what we do now is get representatives of these teams together and say, how do you want to launch this product? What is a successful product launch for us in this market for this type of a product? And they create their OKRs for that limited time. It's also possible, right? And this is, there's a slight differentiation between the teams that I explain it better, of course, in the upcoming book, but I also have a how-to guide for you. So if I don't bring a book, then at least I can bring a how-to guide for you, and you will find some details there. I talked a lot. I need to sip a little bit water now. While I do that, I want to ask you, grab your neighbor again. Don't grab it, no, don't. Just talk to your neighbor. And can you think of opportunities? Did you discover some opportunities that you could use parts of the solar system, dynamic teams, or maybe a shared OKR team? Talk about it, and then I will show my hand again when the time is over. I like this voice going on and you thinking about ideas. Would you please stand up if you found something doable, applicable, an idea, if you had anything that is doable? Thank you very much for showing that there's something. I would love to have a chat with all of you after the talk. Unfortunately, I really have limited time, like 15 minutes, and then I have to go and catch my train back home. But we can stay in contact. You can, the promised OKR guide you can download for free. The how-to guide for the OKR Solar System, you can find it in this QR code. You can connect with me in LinkedIn. And let's have a chat then. If not possible now today in person, maybe afterwards via LinkedIn, or we can even schedule a call if you are interested more in this. With the whole, you don't hate OKRs, you hate the system thing, I want to break some patterns here and say, it is not about the OKRs, right? Also what I just showed to you, OKR is just part of it. OKR just can be an enabler to create a dynamic organization, an organization of dynamic teams that work on strategic problems, if we would enable them and give them a little bit of support and mastery in the hands. And that's actually what I'm promoting here, saying out there, the market is crazy, right? Dynamic markets need us to create dynamic organizations. So the permanent teams that we have, really static organizations, that's an illusion. People leave companies, they go, they change roles. So the teams are not static at all. So why are we still trying to create organizations around that illusion? Why not just create a dynamic organization and make that possible? Work on that to make that possible. That's actually my promotion or my message here, to say, let's create these dynamic organizations. Let's enable people to work with the people they want to and work on topics they want to, and give them some mastery with OKRs, for example, right? That's the idea. And whatever you do, please don't cascade goals. If you can, build an OKR solar system. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have one quick note for myself. I would like to take a picture with all of you. Is that possible? Would that be okay? Yeah? But you need to, do something. That it was an amazing talk and you had a lot of fun here. Yeah? Cheese, 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you very much, everyone. Do we have time for questions? Maybe one or two. I can answer quickly. Are there any questions at all? Yeah, I see an eager hand there. Wait a second.
You talked about key results and initiatives. How do you differentiate between the two?
Yeah. Initiative is something I do in order to achieve something. And if I achieve it or not, this is my key result showing this. Right? I want to create an effect by announcing keynote speakers for the next FlowCon, for example. There's the idea behind it to animate people to buy tickets, because this keynote speaker is amazing and I already get the early bird ticket because I know I want to listen to this person. So creating this effect is actually my goal, and this would be my key result, to sell early bird tickets. Announcing the keynote speaker would be one initiative that I do in order to create that effect. maybe there are some more other things that I can do in order to create that effect. So initiatives are many, many things that we do. We start, and if it doesn't work, we drop them, we change, we adapt. All we can do, we are able to see what works, what not, is thanks to our key results, because these are the outcomes that we want to create. So if, after announcing a keynote speaker, if we are still not selling a ticket, then we should try something else, right? That's the differentiation between those two.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Any other questions?
Lovely. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.